Hold on. All right, I'll just wear my normal hat that I was wearing.
Well, I showered today.
Did you?
Yeah. It's
Good for
spring.
you.
But then I did laundry, and so I've been sweating all day, so my hair is just not flattering.
Let me just kind of.
You're sweating doing laundry
Oh yes.
with my hand?
How hard were
Well-
you doing laundry? Were you like manually, like fucking?
No,
Wait,
I was washing
hold
machine
on.
and hanging it up and
Sorry.
cleaning stuff.
Okay, you're recording, so all right, so we'll keep it clean right now. Because I just
Yeah, we
started
don't have
swearing.
to.
Well-
This could just be an excerpt for like the Patreon or something, if we want.
That's true. We could but still, we'll go YouTube and then Patreon. So then anyone else can join us on the Patreon later when we just get really funky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to get really funky and you want to hear our full commentary on how we see things in the world and how we homestead for real, make sure you get over to the Patreon and join us there and get a membership and actually follow us, because then you'll get the real stuff on how we all actually really live, rather than YouTube where it's kind of like subdued and calm, and we give you the fluffy stuff right here.
Yes. YouTube
Yeah.
is the fluffy good stuff. We're going to be talking tonight about planting and hardening off plants.
Okay.
And I am not very good at it, but I've watched Marilyn and
You're not very good
Annie-
at hardening off?
not plants. The other, there is an aspect to that. Yep.
Just making sure. Just making sure. You're getting those plants
Just don't let them
ready to
know.
plant.
And what are we talking about, just for people who might not know what hardening off of plants looks like?
You're making sure that when you take them outside, that they're not going to shrink in the cold weather like every other male. So that's the big thing.
Also,
Yeah.
also, when you're indoor all winter long, and the first time you go out in the spring, you become all red.
Yeah.
That's hardening plants, so they don't become all red.
Yeah. You're kind of comfortable inside. You're used to being looked after, and it's all nice and cushy. And then you go outside, and it's like, hey, these are different conditions. Things have changed. We got a little more ultraviolet light. We got a little more wind. We might get a cold breeze every now and then. It's like, hey, things have changed up a little bit.
Temperature changing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because inside the house, when you start plants inside, they kind of take the same temperature. Unless a lot of people don't run fans on them. I like to put a fan on them when I can spare the electricity, because it strengthens the stem. And the hardening off, when you take it out, it's exposing it to the temperatures that it's going to encounter outside. It's exposing it to sunlight, because sunlight and grow lights are not the same. Angie! Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
And exactly, Tracy, as you were saying, the more wiggle you can give it, the more, you can treat it badly, the more it's going to, be able to sustain that kind of pressure that it has to take.
What are we talking about?
Hardening off.
We're hardening off. Marlene and I are talking about plants.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, getting ready for planting in the ground in the garden.
And it's funny you mentioned that before, Tracy, about the kind of movement and stuff, because where we've got I want to say it's like a 5-foot wire shelf, where we put a lot of our seedlings, where we start a lot of our plants and seeds. There's another section where we do like a 3-foot shelf. But what we did is there's a fan there because we put it beside the stairs going down to the basement. So we took out the light that was there and we put a grow light in instead of just a regular LED or a regular, whatever, just a regular light. We took that out and we put a grow light in instead. Mm-hmm. So then when we wake up in the morning, we turn that on and there's a grow light and a fan. So that fan then actually moves those little seedlings, moves everything, and kind of pressures them to like, hey, you're going to have to kind of, harden up and withstand some a little movement and pressure and a little wind.
No, it's not going to do it. Well, it worked there. Turn that on. I must have unplugged that. I was going to show you my grow lights I've got back there. I'm just going to start planting. I don't know what to plant first. I got which it's way early for me right now.
Go willy-nilly.
If
you don't know what to plant, just plant everything. Do what we do. I came from Ontario where I was like zone 5, zone 6, and came to zone 3B. So I was like, I just started seedlings like, hey, it's time to start planting. And then realized like, no, it's actually not. But then you actually start to realize that some things you can actually pot up and it'll work. Other things you realize that, no, you actually really did start this too soon. And so it's all like a learning process of just throw some. If you haven't done this before, just start throwing stuff in pots and throwing stuff in seeds or throwing stuff in like growing medium. Just start planting some seeds and start taking notes. And then you'll start to learn what is good for your type of area. Start planting up. So you realize like, oh crap, that has grown too fast. I can't plant it outdoors. I'm going to have to put it up. Maybe it didn't work. Okay, so we won't do that next time. We'll wait a few weeks. Or maybe you have a greenhouse like us where you start planting the cayenne peppers and you're like, okay, I've planted that up a few times. It's now time to get it into the greenhouse. Good, we're good to go. So for anyone who is really getting into it, don't be afraid to just start and test the waters and write down your notes and figure out what is good for your area.
I started off, let's see, the first year I started growing inside, I started planting inside tomatoes and stuff on the 1st of March, the first week of March. Then that was way too early. I ended up with some really tall, really stringy tomatoes by the end of May when I could put them in the garden. And so then,
and it depends if you're doing garden or greenhouse. So
right. And then last year it was the second week of April, and that was still a little too early. So this year I'm going for like the third week of April. I'm going to plant everything inside, and hopefully I'll be able to get it out, because usually that'll give me, figure, 1 week in April and then 3 weeks in May. So they hopefully.
Normally I start like things like peppers and everything in February, but this year I was looking at my seeds, and everybody from my area either left a message or private messaged me. We don't start those around here until like March, from the beginning to the middle of March, sometimes towards the end of March. So I'm going to try that this year. I haven't started, or I didn't start any of my seeds until after, like in February, I started none. In March, we'll see.
Yeah.
And it depends. Like I would say again, it depends if you're going directly into a greenhouse, if you're going into a regular garden, if you're going into a raised bed garden, if you're going into a garden that is like, we have one area that is right behind the house. So the sun comes down and hits that concrete wall. So we've already got stuff growing right now where, you know, that shouldn't happen where we are in our location. But because of the septic tank, the concrete wall from our basement, that stuff in that area already starts to grow. So it all depends on your location, the microclimate, what's happening. You need to play around with it.
I was outside today, and I know you got snow not too long ago, Darren, but we are almost done our snow season at the point at time of recording this, and there's rhubarb in a pot that I had that is already starting to show itself. And so I was like, well, that's early. But
we had a ton of rhubarb that came up last year, and we actually lost it because we had the same sort of thing. It warmed up outside, and then, you know, we started seeing our apple trees, our pear trees, everything started budding. The rhubarb started coming up through the ground, and then the next week was like -0 temperature.
Yeah, I said that
tonight. We lost the rhubarb, we lost other stuff, and it was just.
I think it was the second or third year that we came up here. It wasn't last summer, it was the summer before. Same situation. We had the stuff starting to bloom early, like apple trees and all that, the berries. And then I know we got no apples, and we have a ton of apple trees up here. And there was no apples because they blossomed, and then we got a hard frost and it killed them.
So and it's crazy when that happens, because it's like you have two situations. Stuff blooms early, where, you know, nothing's out to pollinate it, and then the frost comes, or, you know, again, it blooms early, and it's just like, what's going on?
I saw a hornet today, and it made me mad. Crawling around on the driveway, and I'm like, what?
But again, remember, the hornets are good pollinators.
Yes.
They are a natural pollinator. So as much as we want to get mad at the hornets and wasps and that sort of thing, they're still good for us.
But they eat bees.
Not all the time. It all depends on what's happening in the environment. So I'm going to go way off in a thing here, but when we started our homestead, what we found was we're almost desert, I want to say, because we have so much sand here. It's not even funny. So when we started growing stuff, we had just an infestation, I would say, of grasshoppers. And what's happened is, as we've built up the homestead, as we've added more organic matter to the soil, as we've added more plants, as we've added more trees, shrubs, flowers, so many different things to increase our habitat, increase our food forests. Just as we continue to change the habitat that we're at, instead of just sand, desert, scrub, pine trees, we've added so much different habitat here, and so much different food, and so much different everything, pollinators and that sort of thing. Is what we found is when we started, we had so many grasshoppers, and now what we have is almost a balance of stuff.
Mhm.
So we had so many grasshoppers at the beginning. Now we have a balance. So if we go out to the raised bed garden last year, we saw the odd grasshopper, but it wasn't a big deal. We saw birds, we saw butterflies, we saw multiple different insects, that sort of thing. So it's almost like once you start creating your own little habitat with so many different plants and shrubs and grasses and that sort of thing, you create your own ecosystem, and it starts to balance out. So you stop having to worry about something becoming a dominant predator.
Whatever happened to the murder hornets?
Oh, we had some here last year.
They haven't gotten here yet.
They were like this big.
Yeah.
They were, I think I sent one in a chat. I when we were talking, I sent a video of one. I'm like, oh my, like they're, because I saw it not last year, but the year before, and I only saw a couple, and then that was it.
You need to get yourself some target shells, some 12 gauge target shells.
12 gauge, eh?
That's all I use.
Target shells, and they will take out those murder hornets.
Hopefully. But yeah, hopefully.
Uh-huh.
A couple weeks ago on my live stream, I had an owl out over here, so I stepped out the back door and fired that way, because my chickens were open. Now I have my chickens shut down for the night because they were going crazy. When I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get everything ready for tonight, and all of a sudden I'm hearing chickens going crazy. And it wasn't a hawk or anything like that, because they were in the coop going crazy. And so I went over to the coop and they were all in. So
it's funny because you should be okay with the owls. Like, from what I've seen, I haven't had any issues with owls at all. So we've had, where I used to live, we had great horned owls. And now where I am now, we only heard great horned owls the one year, and it was so funny because great horned owls love skunks. So it was so funny because I've been here, I want to say 7 years, and we only heard them the 1 year. And it was like a week before I heard the great horned owl, I was out for a walk and I had the flashlight. And what I usually do is every so often in the summer, I'll take Odin for a walk, our basset hound, and I'll just walk the property. And the one time I was walking, and every so often I'll shine the flashlight. And usually I don't shine the flashlight. I try and keep my night vision. So, not shine the flashlight. Your eyes come accustomed to the dark. You're okay. But even still, every so often, I just shine it. Is there a fox? Is there a coyote? Is there something? So I'm walking down. I shine the flashlight, and all I see is like 8 eyes coming up this pathway. And I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Like, am I being invaded or something? And I realized it was like a whole bunch of baby skunks coming up the pathway. I'm like, Odin, this way. Odin, you're going back to the house. And it was so funny because it was like the next night or 2 nights later, all I hear is whoo, 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 whoo. And it's a great horned owl. And great horned owls love skunks. And then like next week, I couldn't find any skunks on the property at all. And I'm like,
Thank you.
yeah.
Well, I've got the new bantam chickens, and my hen. Well, even for the silky hen, she's real tiny, but the bantam hen and bantam roosters are really tiny. And I remember
still, most owls shouldn't take a chicken.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know
if we're talking like eagles, hawks, that kind of stuff, then sure. But like most owls, they'll be after like skunks, mice, rodents, rabbits, that kind of stuff. It's very rare that they take a chicken because the chickens are out during the day, back in the coop at night, and then the owls come out after that. It's the same as bats. Everyone talks about, bats and the owls getting bats. Well, owls don't get bats because it's just a different kind of thing. So, yeah.
I know up on Stillwater Reservoir, the DEC would take roadkill deer and pull them out on the ice for the hawks and the eagles and stuff like that. And they went to start to pull some deer out, and they started finding chicken carcasses. The eagles, and I would imagine the hawks too, were going and getting into somebody's chickens, but then they would bring them to that feeding spot to eat them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But yeah, it in the spring, it seems like everything is waking up.
Yeah, exactly.
I
everything was waking up until Sunday, when we had the big 2 feet of snow. You guys, I think most of you had the rain.
We got the snow.
You and I had the snow. Everyone else had the rain.
I got
2 feet of snow. Lost power for 12 hours.
2 or 3 inches of snow. It was mostly rain, and then it turned to snow.
No, I had we had a dusting, but it was gone the next day. It wasn't even enough to coat a windshield of the car. So
yeah, for us, it's still on the car. It's still like I was trying to snow blow today, and it was just brutal because the worst is when you get that snow, that so much snow that you have to snow blow or snow plow, but underneath the driveway still thaw.
Yeah.
So you start pushing dirt, you start pushing mud. If you have a snow plow, if you've got a snow blower, then you start picking up that dirt and mud inside the snow blower, and it's just brutal.
Yeah, it is. My Misty and Alex they just got a tractor. It's a 48 horse. It's a little bigger than mine.
Yeah.
It's a TYM. It's a Branson model. TYM bought Branson and
48 horse.
Yeah. But I just love watching. They're new to homesteading. Their kids are always outside playing, which is a good thing to see anyway. I love and I don't know. I can't say enough about them. They're awesome. And she cooks really, really good and brings food to me.
Not like that.
But
kind of like when Angie brings me her lasagna. She never brings it to me. I've always got to go get it.
I always make you come get it.
Exactly.
Although no, that's a fib. Because at the cottage last year, didn't I bring leftovers for everybody?
Oh, yeah, you did. Gave it to us. And I was like, for that entire weekend, I was eating Angie's lasagna, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. I look forward to that lasagna big time.
Oh, man.
And I'm hoping everybody gets to make it to the conference.
It's funny you mentioned that because there's a few of us that aren't going. So
pardon? Wait, what?
Yeah. So I was talking to Chris and Steph tonight from Hickory Croft Farms. If anyone watching hasn't checked them out, definitely do.
Yes.
Because they are like a wealth of knowledge on stuff.
I know.
Like, if you want to pick someone spraying on stuff, like, you just hook up with them. But yeah, so they aren't able to make it to the conference this year. And then Lynn, Bucket List Homestead, she said she's not coming to the conference this year. So it's brutal because I'm
But
like,
all you guys are coming, right?
I am planning on it.
Come because we definitely want to see you guys all. So it's like, you know, it's our opportunity to come out and see y'all, and you know,
I'm still not sure. Yeah,
What's
for the lasagna maybe.
As long as you're making some lasagna this year.
Pepsi, hugs, chat, Remy, Tracy, Darren.
Oh man,
poutine, all season chips.
Is Bridget coming?
He's just like laying it all out there.
Is
like,
Bridget coming?
Yeah. So the big thing for us is this year is like we really wanted to make it so the two of us do come. So not like we don't always come, but you know, we wanted to wanted to make sure we both come for you.
Well, technically you could do that at home.
You know, we tried to, you know,
thinking of you.
That might be against YouTube standards there.
I don't know. I don't think YouTube has any problem with us coming.
No, not to the conference.
Especially for the lasagna.
Exactly.
Yes. That is good lasagna.
Conference and the lasagna.
and
apparently Remy messaged me and said I needed to bring make shortbread too. My Nana's shortbread. So yes.
Did you have that last year? I don't remember.
I didn't, but I did a video on it and he asked if I was going to make it. And I was like, yes.
If you could make some, because my grandmother is Scottish, Scottish. She's no longer with us, but she was
from Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom is first generation Canadian. So my grandmother was a war bride from Scotland. So she always took us to Marks and Spencer's.
That was my first job.
Was it really?
Yeah. That was
I loved going to Marks and Spencer's with my grandmother. Because she would get some of the best snacks and treats and stuff. I just loved it.
What is Marks and Spencer's?
I was there.
It's I want to say it's a store. It's a chain, but it started in the UK, and it was they had stores in Canada. Kind of like Sears. I'm trying to think of the other store for Canada, Hudson's Bay Company.
The Bay, yeah.
Yeah, the Bay.
Zellers.
So exactly. So similar to that, but
Kmart.
They had
but
everything. It was like almost like everything you want from Scotland. You could find there.
I had no idea it was Scottish.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I've been learning a lot about my Scottish, I guess, lineage. Yeah, I've started a family tree and all that. We are going way off topic, but this is kind of cool.
We are going way off topic.
Yeah. But it's gardening plants is no longer the subject.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of just a lot of research on because I knew a lot about my mom's side, but I didn't know a lot about my dad's side.
Okay.
And so I found a lot of stuff out, like where they were from. My Nana and I guess my grandfather came over from Scotland. and my great grandparents came over with my nana from Scotland, and they were from Mayboyle, Scotland. And have you ever heard of that? Ayrshire, Mayboyle. And then apparently somewhere along the way, my family was rebels and our name was stripped of titles. So I was like, oh, really? I knew I was always a princess, but I've been just doing a lot of research, and I'm trying to find out about like different, like if they were part of a clan, if they were, and then I found out, I don't know if anybody watches Outlander.
Yep.
I found out that
I haven't watched a lot. Bridget has. So if you talk to Bridget about Outlander, she'll like.
Apparently, I am part of the Fraser family. Somewhere in that line. I don't know where, but even in my DNA, because I did that 23andMe test a long time ago. I have a lot of Fraser relatives. So
it's interesting because like we're way off the topic of hardening off plants, but if we continue along this line, there's so many Scottish clans that you have to kind of it's so funny because having my relatives still back in Scotland, we were able to take our lineage back to 160 AD.
160, wow.
So that was pretty freaking wild. The thing with that is once you start getting into the Scottish clans, there's a lot that you think match up, but they don't.
I know. That's why I'm taking it slow.
For example, my grandmother was Bean. So you would think that would be, say, Mick Bean or something like that. And you'll start looking up that clan. But it wasn't, because Mick Bean and Bean were two different clans. The Mick Bean followed one, and then Bean went into another. So it was like, okay, so now you actually have to, unless you have someone on the ground there. So I have my mom's cousin who is still there in Scotland and doing a ton of research for us on our ancestry and that sort of thing. And the cool thing with that is he's able to go into the churches, the libraries, all that sort of stuff. And it's mostly the churches is where they kept a lot of that lineage.
Yeah.
So he's able to pull that. And once you start finding out that kind of history, then you're able to say, okay, so this is this is that. And then you can separate it and find out who's who and what clan you're actually with.
Yeah. What's hard with her maiden name is it's Eaglesham. And so that wasn't her maiden, that was my grandfather's name. But there's also Eaglesham, Scotland. And so I'm finding there's a lot of I can find a lot of her lineage, but I can't find a lot of his. So I'm trying to and then also, didn't some of the wives not take some of the husband's names?
Yeah.
So then there's that. So it's a whole, like I'm finding it fascinating, and I'm taking my time. On my mom's side, I have a lot of info. On Mike's side, we had somebody in his family has already done like research all the way back to God knows when. And then on my Nana's side, I knew of some of my grandfather's side, but on my Nana's side, I'm really diving into that right now. So I find it really interesting.
We're so off topic. It's
I know. Yeah. I know. I wasn't even gonna come on tonight because I'm in quite a bit of like something's going on with my leg and foot, but it's Charlie horse. It's crazy. It's like my toe is like I told Mike earlier, my big toe feels like it's trying to break. It's going so far and I can't stop it. I'm putting, because Charlie horses, you step on it, right? No, I can't do it. And I don't know what's going on, but it's like severe, intense, right? For the last 20 minutes, it's been calm. I don't know if it's because I'm sitting, but I came to talk about plants. But I'll talk about Scotland and
Yeah.
You need more potassium and magnesium in your diet.
I take magnesium, but it's something that's been on and off for the last few months, and for the last like week it's been acting up. But tonight was like the worst it's ever been. Out of nowhere, I just went to close the garage door, and I was like, "Nope, not doing it."
Yeah, we appreciate you coming anyway.
Yeah.
Poor Marty Lynn was going to be stuck with just me.
Well, that's why
I was like,
because I was like, I gotta be there for Mary Lynn. Like, I can't leave her crazy.
Tracy and I were like hardening off. It's like, hello, like, come on, let's,
So
grow up a little bit. I can't, but
maybe this is the after show.
I
think it's just the after show.
We haven't said anything that should be in the after show just yet. You kind of wait for the after show, and it'll be like,
I don't know how much longer I'll be here.
You'd be surprised some of the stuff that comes out on some of the podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think we're pretty tame compared to some of the stuff that comes out.
I think we're extremely tame, because even like when we get into Patreon and start talking about everything we talk about. So for anyone still watching this right now, if you haven't watched some of the Patreon stuff, I think we're pretty good, but we're still kind of tame. Whereas like when we shut everything down and we start really talking, all of us together, man, the stuff we talk about between religion and politics and everything else, it goes like,
those are some of my favorite ones.
Between Tracy, me, and Patrick, oh man, if you get into a religious discussion with the three of us, guess
what? Patrick's not here, so let's not.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's get back to the Scottish heritage then.
No, it's okay.
Okay,
right.
Well, we can, but my whole point was shortbread and lasagna. I'll see if I can make some.
All right, good. Okay, so we got shortbread and lasagna for the conference.
We can talk. Oh, the conference would already be passed by time people see this.
Angie, where are you at with your greenhouse? Because I know you were talking about.
This is coming out April 12th.
Oh, okay, I got don't mind me. My greenhouse, that won't be built.
You were talking about building one off the back of your log cabin, right?
The side of it, yes.
Okay, so where are you at with? Where are you seeing what you want to do with hardening off?
I want to make
greenhouse for starting stuff.
Yeah, I want to make my greenhouse. I would like to make my greenhouse 4-season. So cool in the winter, it obviously is not going to do peppers and stuff like that, but I want to see if I can make it into a place that can be a 4-season greenhouse. It'll be attached to the house. And so we got to look more into that, but I would like to be able to do all my starts and everything in there, but that's not going to be done for probably 2 years, a year to 2 more years.
Okay.
The cabin.
Wow. I thought you guys were closer to that.
To the greenhouse? No, we're going to have a house first. But we had the house inspector. Here we go off topic again. We had the house inspector come out today, and it was all good news, like the township. All good news. He loves the way we're progressing, even though it's slow. Yeah. So we are going to be in this summer.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's so good to hear that.
Oh, you don't even know. If I had to do one more year here in the winter in the barn, I would literally sell it all and move. I'm done.
I'm taking back what was originally mine. What I sold is now back ours.
Yeah.
Would you do that? Would you move back to where you were if you could?
No.
No?
No.
You wouldn't move to the other cabin?
Oh, to the other cabin? No.
No?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
No. I thought you meant Oshawa, and I was like,
No. I meant like your other cabin before you.
No, because
that other
it was
place.
too small. It was a good house to show us that it
It
was
was like a starter off grid.
starter, to show what we really wanted. And so we wanted bigger. We wanted more of a carved out property.
Okay.
And we wouldn't be able to do that if we had stayed there. This allowed
Okay.
us the finances and everything to kind of carve it where we are, to have the big garden, because that's another thing. The garden in the log cabin was all like stone, and you dig in one spot and it would be, a foot deep, and then the next spot would be an inch if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And so, but I also learned from going back to plants. I learned from that because I too came from like a 5-6 zone to we're 3B up here. 4B. I think it's 4B up here.
So you were able to take a lot from that and apply it to where you are now.
Well, we had a really cool greenhouse that we did bring to this property. Mike had built it. It was wood and plastic, but it was like 2x4 structure. And then it got run over by a backhoe. So it demolished. But it was a good start. And I learned a lot in that because it housed a lot of plants.
We won't blame anyone, Mike.
No, Michael.
No. Yeah.
And
got ran over by a backhoe.
And I was like,
come and hold my house Christmas Eve.
I want an
That's such a great tune.
So I
love that tune.
That greenhouse showed me that you can, how when you grow seeds in your zone and you keep growing them in your zone, they kind of
adapt.
They adapt.
Yeah,
and so my tomatoes, like I have videos back when we were in the cabin, and my tomatoes were out in like 4-degree weather in the greenhouse. It got really cold. We'd bring them in every night. But we did a lot of experimentation to see, even how much fruit we did produce off our plants.
Yeah.
That's where I started from seed. I think the year before we moved to the country, I started doing things from seed. So when we came up here, I really expanded.
Nice.
And like you were saying when I first came on, just get in and start doing it, because I have no idea how I grow what I grow. People think I have a green thumb, and I don't. But I learn every year.
Just trial and error for the most of us. It's like just continuing to do what you do and like learn from it.
Yeah.
Like Marilyn, like you're even I want to say we're 3B. You're what? 3? 2B?
I think you are 4. I'm 3B, but I'm 3B because of the river.
Yeah.
You're
And
just
so like
a few meters in the land, you're 3A.
The amount that you continue to produce at your place is just amazing.
Yeah.
I think the only issue you ever face, from what I've seen from your videos, is that you need to keep your cats out of screwing with your seed legs, right?
Well, yes, the new cat. My old cat was really nice with my plants and didn't bother, but the new cats are mental with them. They take my plants for a litter box. But I mean, normally, not this winter, I'm sure, but normally I have snow until mid-May on the ground.
Right. I think you're the same as us. It's like kind of the June 15th, June 10th,
around June 15th.
Kind of last frost date. But the amount that you grow and the amount that you do there at your place,
yes,
for us, we're still in awe of what you do there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have more plants. I need to have more plants to have the amount I need to grow.
Okay, I see what you
Okay.
mean.
For me, tomato plants will never give me 10 pounds of tomato.
Right.
It will give me maybe 5, 6 tomatoes on it if
So
I'm
you have to
lucky.
plant like a lot more to get what somebody in a warmer zone
Yes.
get.
Okay. So you
Or have
plan.
a really big greenhouse. That's my dream. But you know,
Mhm.
So you always plan for like more than than anyone else. Like say us in a zone 4, zone 5, zone 7.
yeah.
Plan more plants than us.
Like when I see Annie have cultivate and have many peppers, even peppers. I mean, if I have two nice pepper on my plants, I mean the sweet pepper, big ones,
Mhm.
that's very good.
Try banana peppers.
Yeah, the smaller one, the hot peppers, I'm okay with that because they are smaller, they come faster. But
Right.
the big ones, no, I can't.
Huh.
My season is not long enough.
And you've got a ton of rabbits and all that.
Yes.
Have you found any difference amending your soil with the rabbit manure? Have you tried like doing a greenhouse with like filled with rabbit manure and just going nuts inside that greenhouse with rabbit manure?
Well, we talk about that in great length on the rabbit podcast.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yes,
they can.
the manure, the rabbit manure is great. In the greenhouse, it's still great. Just, I mean, if you put too much, you'll have great plants. Like I
Okay.
had great tomato plants. They were green, lush, big, but no fruits, only leaves.
Oh,
Mhm.
so you're getting all the growth and all the leaves and all everything. You're just
Yeah,
not producing anything, any of the fruits from it.
anything edible. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a big jungle. It's great. It's very lush. It's beautiful, but
Yeah. It's funny because
it's
we did
just
that
crazy.
in our greenhouse this, I want to say it was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago with loofah. So we put loofah in the greenhouse thinking that it would go nuts and it would produce tons of stuff. Well, it did go nuts, but it
Hmm.
didn't produce any whatever the loofah is, whether
Loofahs.
it's fruit or vegetable or whatever it was.
Like a cucumber.
It went
Yeah,
crazy, and the plant was everywhere inside the greenhouse, but it didn't produce anything that was viable for us to be able to harvest.
hmm
Did it so what I found when I grew them, I grew them in the zone 5 or 6, whatever Oshawa is. And I grew them there and I was successful and I got to but eventually get loofahs, but I had to overwinter them and
Okay.
constantly watch them and turn them. If you don't have a long enough zone that you are able to let them die on the plant, frost will kill it. Like the slightest frost will kill the entire plant.
hmm
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
so you have to pull them off as like they look like cucumbers and you have to let them dry if
Wow.
you're in a
Okay.
colder zone. My plant, even in Oshawa, went absolutely nuts. And then it was like towards the end that all of a sudden I got all these loofahs. So if you're not planting them early enough, like I definitely start seeds indoors for that, even though it says
So
not to. If
for
you
us, we need to start it now. We need to grow
hmm
it now.
soon, yeah,
Then we need to stick it in the greenhouse and then let
yes,
it go as long as possible in the greenhouse.
yep,
And then
start it
hopefully,
now, yeah.
And
yeah.
hardening off those plants are is very difficult because
It
for one,
is.
when we plant early, they will be big plants
Yep.
by the time we can put them in the greenhouse, and those leaves are very sensible to cold, to
Yeah.
sun, to wind.
Yeah, it's so funny you mentioned that, because there's been so many ones where we've grown up and we're like, we're going to start this so early so we can get a head start. And then even put in the greenhouse, what we find is if we throw it in the greenhouse, what happens is all of a sudden it gets like sunburnt or it gets too hot.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't
And then other ones, if we try and put it outside, it gets like, nope, it's too cold, it's too windy. So it's really that kind of, you really got to find that compromise between growing stuff indoors to take it outside and harden it off.
For the cucumbers and the squash, I found the best is really make them sprout outside.
Yeah.
You can do what I do is beginning of May, so it's still very cold during the night, but during the day it's okay. So I get them out in the day and bring them in the night. But if they sprout outside directly in the sun and in the wind, they will be fabulous. After that, you can get them inside and they will be okay. But
it's crazy because we sprouted a whole bunch of squash, watermelon. Yeah, it was squash and watermelon that we planted direct seeded outside. And they started going, but it was like, when I was talking to Chris at Hickory Croft, he was like, every picture I showed him of everything, he was like, you've only got female flowers. You don't have any male flowers. So I'm like, what is going on? And I forget what he said the issue was, but it was
temperature.
Yeah, I think it was temperature, but it was like our plants were only producing female flowers. So again, I think it was a cold season versus a hot season. So it was one of those where we need to have not only our greenhouse where it's sealed up, but a greenhouse where it is covering most of the outdoor bed where we can raise it, raise the sides. So we have one that's like really hot, we have one that is moderate, and then we have one that is kind of the natural temperature for our area.
Yeah, I'm thinking, playing around in my mind about getting another greenhouse, and this time I'm gonna leave the cover on it all year, all summer, even no matter how hot it gets in there. Because that's where I ran into the problem. Was I took the cover off, put the netting up, and then the netting held this. We ended up with that 2 or 3 foot of snow all at that one time early in the spring, and the netting held all that snow, and it collapsed the whole thing because the plastic shell of the greenhouse actually holds it. It's actually gives it part of its stability, part of its structure, and but it because I walked by it and I said, man, I got to get the snow off that. And then it was either later in the afternoon or the next morning it was down.
It's so interesting you say that, because we have a friend kind of up just out of town, and he has, I want to say it's like a 20-foot by 60-foot greenhouse. So he keeps his chickens in there all winter. And what happens is he gets so much snow, but the snow falls off and builds up on the sides. So it starts to insulate the entire area. And he throws in straw bales. He's got like a couple pallets in there. He's got this thing on concrete blocks where he's built this chicken coop. He builds up this thing where it's concrete blocks and then a skid, a pallet, and then more pallets. So he builds this almost like chicken coop up inside this greenhouse. And it's crazy because for me, it's like you're getting so much snow built up on the sides and on top. Does it not collapse the greenhouse? But everything just falls off it. So the style he has is okay. So he has his rabbits and his chickens in there all winter. And he just keeps throwing, straw and feed and stuff in there. And they're running around in there all winter. And he's collecting eggs, harvesting rabbits. And I'm like, this is pretty cool the way you've done this.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like I need to figure it out with my regular chicken coop to be able to run something where it's like an actual greenhouse that will shed the snow and be able to withstand our temperatures and our snow.
Yeah. We are. Oh, go ahead.
My greenhouse is pretty good to shed snow and will, like you said, accumulate on the sides. I have the plastic roof that undulate.
The corrugated plastic?
Yeah.
And it's a cardboard temple.
Yeah. You've seen our regular one that it's like a 45-degree angle with just regular plastic, and it sheds snow no problem.
Well, mine is less than 45, but it sheds snow pretty
nice.
easily. Like there's no snow right now on it, and we just got a foot of snow.
There's snow on my greenhouse either. I don't have a greenhouse.
And you don't have snow.
I wasn't going to say that, but you did.
Yeah, she wasn't going to rub it in.
No.
All right. We're about to go to the after show on Patreon.
Are you sure? Do we have enough content? Because I know I started swearing at the beginning, but like if we want to switch it to Patreon, I'll be like, I'm all in. I'm like, let's do this.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Let's
I don't know how long I'll last, but I will try.
You guys want to hear the in-depth details on what's going on our homesteads? You need to turn on the Patreon. You need to follow us because
all the secrets are there.
Unless you're my mom or a child that used to come to youth group.
Yeah. I think my mom's already traumatized from everything she already sees on Facebook. So I'm pretty sure you are too, Tracy, but I want to apologize for that. So yeah.
Oh, dude, I got to tell you,
in Patreon's version.
Yeah. I think I've already apologized to you a few times, and you've apologized to me a few times. So I'm not sure whose turn it is to apologize to each other for what's going on.
Yeah, look, we'll apologize on Patreon. Marilyn, Little Homestead by where can we find you?
YouTube, Little Homestead by the Beach.
All right, Angie?
YouTube, Facebook, and Insta.
And
hey, if you Google Thorhaven Farm, you'll find our YouTube, our Instagram, our actual website where Bridget sells her stuff, and I try and help out.
You guys got some cool stuff in there too. We
are trying to be able to sell more stuff from. It's so cool. I'm freaking out. Like, I'm going to go off on another tangent here. And I actually messaged Bridget today. She was out getting her hair done at lunch. And I'm like, I started watching some YouTube videos on the Coeur de Bois. So the Coeur de Bois were what you would call lumberjacks, guys at the woods, that sort of thing. So they were out harvesting wood, lumber, beaver pelts, that sort of thing, and sending it back to France from Quebec. And so the coolest thing is I was like, hey, babe, I want to help you out with the whole website thing. I want to help you out with the weaving. I want to help you out with so many different things. So today I was kind of looking into that kind of thing. And there's that thing. If anyone has looked at the Carnaval de Quebec, is the festival to Quebec for, our winter festivals down in Quebec City. There's Bonhomme. He's a big freaking snowman, and he's got this belt on, and it is basically a traditional Quebec belt. So the cool thing about that belt is it kind of blew my mind, because I was watching, so I was watching some YouTube videos, and me being my entire history and lineage for the most part is Scottish, 17 generations Scottish. So I'm all about the kilt and that sort of stuff, our different kilts. And then I was like, okay. So I was looking into the belt for Quebecois, and I was like, oh shit. So it was not just that there's one belt. There's a belt for every different family. There's a belt for every different region. So I was like, oh, wow. Okay, babe. So maybe I can help start making you a belt that we can sell on our website for our region. And I was like, after I started watching the videos, I was like, no, I can't, because it's not weaving. It's actually like a braiding. So they actually kind of braid this belt, and they start doing this kind of thing where they're braiding the belt. And I'm like, I'm already lost. The guy started explaining it, and I'm like, I'm freaking done. I'm like, okay, if I was kind of weaving where I could, like when Bridget weaves her dish towels, where she throws a shuttle back and forth and steps on the pedals to raise stuff back and forth, I'm like, okay, I could kind of get that. Like I could get into a pattern, but it was like this whole kind of braiding, all these different things to make this arrowhead pattern. I'm like, freaking done. So I don't know what my point was with the whole story, but the more I try and be Quebecois, the more I fail.
You'll get there.
I'm trying to get there, but I'm failing so hard.
It's a New Brunswick word saying that, but yeah, you'll get there.
So the coolest thing was when Angie, who has now left us, Angie,
Yes.
wherever you are, was talking. Whoa, what happened there?
Well,
Really left.
She is in pain. Her foot is acting up on her.